Hey there, Ninja. I'm Stephanie Stiavetti from Fearless Fresh, and today we're going to talk about roasted cauliflower and zucchini. Now, this is one of my favorite simple, healthy dishes, right? It takes very little time and effort. You just chop up some zucchini, you just chop up some cauliflower, and in some cases, you can just buy a bag of like cauliflower florets from the grocery store. And you toss them with a little bit of oil and you toss them with a little bit of your favorite herbs and spices. Like I personally like herbs de Provence, which is an herb blend that's French, but you can get it at any grocery store. You can mix it with Italian herbs. You can mix it with whatever herbs and spices you've got that you love in your pantry and just go for it. You put them in a baking sheet or in a baking pan and you put them in the oven and you roast them at a high temperature, 375, until they're done, basically. But there's some tips that I want to share with you that are really important. So one thing is you want to make sure that you get a beautiful caramelization on all your vegetables because that's where the flavor comes from. Like you're going to hear me say this 1,000 times, especially if you're one of my students in the Fearless Cooking Club, you're going to hear me say this every day. Browning is flavor, browning is flavor. And when it comes to vegetables, vegetables are surprisingly high in sugars and starches, which means there's a lot of opportunity there for browning, which is perfect for developing flavor. So one of the reasons we're roasting these vegetables at a higher temperature, 375, is because A, we want to brown them very, very heavily so that they don't burn, but so they brown. So they stick to the bottom a little bit and they toast on top. But also there's one other thing here. You want to keep the zucchini from getting soggy. Now, zucchinis are very, very moist. They have a lot of water in them and they tend to mush when you cook them. And so you want to cook your zucchini into relatively large pieces here. I use like 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch because the bigger they are, the more structural integrity they will hold together as they cook. Now, cooking these zucchini at a higher temperature will also cause some of the moisture to cook out, which will also hold them together. And that's the reason that we're cooking this recipe not covered. We're not covering this pan with foil. We actually want the moisture to evaporate because if you cover the pan with foil, what's going to happen is all that moisture is going to stay in and your zucchini and your cauliflower are going to get super soggy and they won't brown. And that's like the most tragic part about it. They won't brown. They'll just basically steam, right? Because all the moisture in the pan from the vegetables is going to be moving around inside that closed space and they'll just steam. And they'll still be delicious, but they won't have that beautiful roasted vegetable flavor. And that's the key. So you want to brown them. You want to cook them at a high temperature and you want to cook them uncovered. And halfway through the cooking, you want to go and give the pan a good shake or kind of run a spatula along the bottom to make sure that nothing's sticking and also to kind of turn everything over once and only once to make sure that they're evenly browned. You don't want to go in there and keep turning them and shaking them because what's going to happen is like you're going to end up mushing the zucchini and it becomes really no bueno. So the cauliflower is going to take longer to cook than the zucchini because cauliflower is much harder than zucchini, right? Zucchini is very soft, cauliflower is very hard. That's the other reason you want to cook the cauliflower or you want to cut the zucchini into larger pieces like 3/4 inch chunks because the larger pieces of zucchini will take longer to cook and they'll have an easier time catching up to the cauliflower will have an easier time catching up to the zucchini. So if you cut the cauliflower into smaller pieces and you cut the zucchini into bigger pieces, by the time you're done, you will find that everything is perfectly cooked. Now you want to cook them for anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how brown and crispy you like them. It's totally up to you. But don't keep opening the oven and poking around in there because every time you open the oven, it releases all the heat from your oven, actually causes everything in the oven to cook much slower. So if you keep going in there and fussing around with it, you're going to find that the dish takes forever to cook. And this becomes a problem with cauliflower because it already takes a little bit longer to cook. So go ahead and somewhere on the page, you will find either the recipe for this or a link to the recipe and find it, make it, you're going to love it. As always, be sure to visit fearlessfresh.com if you want to become a faster, more creative, more efficient home cook. I will show you how to become a total badass in the kitchen. Have a good one.